We'll probably have the largest entertainment launch in history this year with GTA 6, probably the most anticipated game in history. AI gets you 0 to 80% instantaneously. Mobile gaming cannot be underestimated in any room. Have to do new stuff now, and new stuff's the jam.
Yeah, it is. Welcome back, everyone. I'm here with Isaac. Thank you so much for joining.
I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so we're amongst nerdy greatness. Correct?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about greatness, but nerds, yeah.
Definitely greatness. I'm so happy you're here with us. So what brings you into town from Seattle?
So coming down for GamesBeat conference, which hosted by Dean Takahashi and the lovely GamesBeat crew. I'm on a panel this afternoon with Andre from Find. We're going to talk about the future of TV gaming. And then anytime I get to just connect with the gaming industry, I'll take it. So.
Absolutely.
And a chance to get out of the Seattle gray because I haven't seen the sun in like 6 months.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad that you brought the sunshine with you actually, because it's a beautiful day here in Marina Del Rey. Okay, you and I have something in common, which is we were both management consultants.
Yes.
Yeah, and so you were at Accenture, is that right?
I was in the Accenture strategy practice when they gave out the cool black business cards. Actually, a very funny story. That bag, I still have my original business cards. It's the only set of business cards I've ever ordered in my life. I bought that bag as a young consultant. I was like, I'm going to buy it for life kind of bag, put them in there. And then I think I've given out 5 of them in my career. And they're still in there. There's like 10.
I love it. Wait, those are relics. I remember when business cards were like important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I keep being told I should refresh them and then I don't because the LinkedIn QR code exists. So I do that.
That's exactly right. Or, the feature where your phone's like kiss basically and like magically.
I am not cool enough to know how to do that. I've tried to do it and it's never worked for me. It happens accidentally all the time. And I don't know what's being passed between the phones.
Okay, we'll try and practice before you get to your conference.
Okay.
But that is so funny. So what has been your sort of the trend in your career? What has led you to where you're at today, which is you're at Samsung right now. You're a director at Samsung.
Yep.
In gaming. What's your official title there?
Director, Gaming Strategy and Partnerships.
Okay, that just sounds like a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Okay, so tell us, how did you end up there?
So, so the career started as a sign language interpreter. You'll forgive me for taking the scenic route. So I started as a sign language interpreter, and I did that for about 8 years. Loved it. I did a lot of weird settings. I've been in meatpacking plants, DUI courts. I was in a operating theater once for a patient who was awake while getting a stent put in, and they needed to be able to communicate with them. That was very strange. I loved it, but I wanted to do something where I could scale myself as a person, and consulting is interpreting is a very one-to-one work. So I had a few friends, and one of them said, management consulting companies like people with weird liberal arts backgrounds. Maybe you'd fit right in. So I did applied to a bunch and then ended up at Accenture Strategy, where I worked on their technology and platform practice. So a lot of West Coast clients, a lot of reorgs, a lot of strategy of the future. I think we were the first to map out a data center on the moon. I'm pretty happy with that. They didn't build it, obviously, but we were happy with that. And then from there to Xbox. I was at Xbox on their emerging tech team. I think the trend for me from interpreting has always been that I think it is the most fascinating thing in the world to help two people understand the same concept. Oh. Language, like words and language, exist as handles on concepts, right?
Yes.
As an analogy. We use words to manipulate concepts and hopefully convey them between each other. I'd love to doing that in interpreting. And in consulting, what you're doing a lot is helping different people understand the same thing and getting people on the same page.
Yep.
Watching understanding flow through a room is so intoxicating, as you know. So I think that was the thread from there to consulting.
And before you get into
Yes.
Xbox, I want to ask you, did you have I mean, I find it interesting that you picked interpreting as opposed to like a traditional, for example, studying French or Spanish or whatever. Was there a personal draw to interpreting sign language for you? Because I think that's so beautiful.
There was. So I was I grew up homeschooled. My first actual class was college, which was a wild surprise. But growing up, I grew up in Texas, and our neighbors were a deaf couple. They adopted 5 deaf children. And so I grew up with them, and I still sign mostly native, but like that's how I grew up. So they were my friends growing up. We learned, then my older sister went into interpreting, and then that was my path. The plan was to be an interpreter / seminary pastor.
Wow. I just think that's such remarkable work.
It's fun. It's fun. And it's how I met my wife, 15 years. It's how we get to check in when we're ready to go at a party. That's ready to go. By the way, it's very convenient when I go into 7-Eleven and she's still in the car, because I can just ask her to and that's very simple. So we still use it. She still works as an interpreter, and that's great.
That is just absolutely beautiful. And I love what you said about basically, and actually this ties directly with the question I was going to ask you. I love what you talked about, connecting people and breaking down those barriers.
Yeah.
And obviously I know as a management consultant, it's a lot of interpreting exactly what you said. I just had that conversation the other day about that used to be my role too. Yeah. So I definitely have to echo that and say that makes a lot of sense.
It does.
You said something on your LinkedIn that caught my eye in your bio, and you said, I love ambiguity.
Yeah.
And that's another big theme in your career, because you seem to always be on the forefront of trends and changes and things like that, pushing the envelope. Can you just tell me a little bit about where that comes from, and how are you applying just what's ambiguous today that you're working through? You don't have to get into specific deals or anything, but we're in an ever-changing landscape with gaming, with media, with digital, with in real life activation. It's all converging. And yet there's a lot of ambiguity and unknowns.
There is.
So tell me more about what's so intoxicating about ambiguity for you.
We're all, this will be a circuitous answer, but we are all looking for meaning and purpose in life at the core of it. I think that's what we're all hunting for. And we're hoping it's in some system or some understanding of the world. We may find that in friends, religion, philosophy, whatever it may be. We are looking for meaning in a world that is very chaotic and challenging to navigate. I mentioned I was very close to going to seminary. Part of that of what is the path to meaning? What's the path to clarity in a world where so many things are undefined? Mm-hmm. So in consulting, I really got the chance to apply that same kind of desire to make sense of the world to business problems with people. And that's, as you know, that's the getting asked an unanswerable question and just accepting that you are going to get as close as possible, but it might not be correct. There's a meditative practice to that. And so I think that's the root of why it is. And then now it's this, what are unanswered questions, unanswerable questions, and how close can we get? I'm extremely fortunate that I've gotten to do work on that most of my career. And that's what I hope to keep working on.
I love that. Yeah, it takes a really special and really bright person to be able to take something, a situation, a project, a plan, and take an ambiguous big question and be able to break it down into small bites and actually create a real strategy around
Try
it.
to, yeah.
We're all trying, right? But that is so neat. So I'm sorry, I wanted to ask you back about Xbox. So then how did you make the leap over to Xbox, and what was that like?
So the first time that I got to my hotel, consulting, living on the road, the first time I got to the hotel and I called my wife and I was like, "Hey babe, I'm home." As I walked into the lobby, I was like, "We gotta end. We gotta.
We are too comfortable.
We're way too comfortable." So I decided to leave, and I'd had the opportunity to work with a bunch of tech companies, and kind of living the people who walk the talk was very important to me. And I had the opportunity to meet the Microsoft Chief Accessibility Officer at the time, Jenny LaFleury, who's deaf. I love that they hired somebody who's actually deaf to be in charge of accessibility. Like, who does that?
Yes.
So, and they were in Seattle, which is the other nice part. So Microsoft was kind of on my exit list, and I spent about 6 months just hunting for a way into Xbox, or not Xbox specifically, but Microsoft. And then one of their recruiters from Xbox reached out and said, we have this role, which is on the emerging tech team. We're doing a lot of telco work. I was like, oh, great. I've worked with telco and I've done emerging tech, and it's gaming. Are you kidding me? So that was a fortunate pivot into gaming. I was so lucky to get into Xbox at the time. And
unbelievable.
It was yeah.
And was that at the main headquarters? I actually was at Microsoft headquarters.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. That was in my offices were in Studio D.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a really remarkable campus.
It is.
I have to say it's quite impressive, and it feels very organized there.
It does. It does.
Feels really organized and efficient.
It's a machine. It is a machine. And I'd worked on campus. I had a 2-year-long project with Microsoft security and real estate team.
Oh.
So I got very behind the scenes with their security and real estate team. They are fascinating. The amount of off the record stuff they do to rescue people and save people is, there should be a movie or book about that at some point.
Oh, I love that. So you just hit this like jackpot of a job, the perfect pivot.
Like that, yeah.
That is so great. And so now you've made your foray into gaming.
Yes. So then landed into Xbox, ran the telco partnerships rollout for cloud gaming, joining at the beginning of cloud gaming. So we did that, and then moved to support their emerging technologies team. So we got to present Web3, Metaverse, AI, and then do their AI partnership with InWorld, and then worked with that team, just trying to figure out how do these next generation tech, how does it impact Xbox, how does it impact Microsoft, and that was a lot of fun because I also I care personally very much about gaming, and so I found now that I'm in gaming, it's very weird because if I'm doing cost takeout for a SaaS company, I can be a little bit neutral about it all, but it's gaming. I care about the outcome of this, and so I keep finding myself taking it more personally, which was fun, but also you have to check yourself, because if the model doesn't work, it doesn't work just because you want it to.
Right.
So you have to be willing to let go of the things you love, which has been the learning now that I've been in gaming.
Oh, wow. So for folks that are not fully immersed in the gaming world yet, like for us, we're dipping our toe in and really enjoying all of it. It's a huge industry. It's really, I mean, it has gained so much steam and momentum.
Yes.
Multi-billion dollar, maybe $1 trillion industry, right? I mean, it's big.
It is big. I think the oft-cited statistic is more money spent on gaming than film and TV last year. Like, as an entertainment category, it is the biggest. Now, the breakdown of that is that most of that comes through mobile. So when people think about gaming, they often think like Grand Theft Auto, they think Call of Duty, the games that
I think Duck Hunt. So how old am I?
Duck Hunt's a classic. Duck Hunt is great.
Just being honest.
Yeah, no, Duck Hunt is fantastic. The tech behind Duck Hunt is very cool. I'll leave that to the audience for how they actually made it. The original, like the light gun work, is really interesting. The hack that they did.
Wow.
But yes, gaming is big, and we'll probably have the largest entertainment launch in history this year with GTA 6.
What is that? Tell us, educate us.
Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be released this year. In November. Probably the most anticipated game in history. I think the previous one, oh gosh, my Take-Two friends are going to punch me, but I think it did $1 billion in the first 24 hours, the previous one. Something like that. That can't be right. Well, I apologize. This one's going to do $1 billion in the first 24 no matter what. It'll be the largest entertainment release in history. I'm taking the week off. I think a significant portion of the world is going to be taking a few days off when that game comes out. So
she be home and play.
Be home and just play. Yeah. So it's going to be absolutely massive. And it's also, we're in this weird spot where it's kind of a big moment for the industry, where if it doesn't do that,
it's going to set a tone.
yes, it's a real tone. It's like a James Cameron movie coming out and not crushing it.
Right.
Like, it kind of needs to crush it in theaters. And if it doesn't, what's happening?
Right. So it'll really set the bar, hopefully as high as possible.
Hopefully.
And I think I would be more surprised if it didn't.
Yeah. And it's also been in development for a decade plus, I think, at this point. I think it's 10 years.
Wow. And so now forgive me, because I'm going to speak on behalf of the people that aren't in the industry. So that's the level that we're at right now. But why do you think this massive resurgence has come to play, pardon the pun,
Love it.
For gaming? Like, where did this come from? Why is this so important?
Yeah.
Why is this, how and why has this come to be?
Wait, okay, buckle in, kids. Yes, indeed. Would you like the cynical or the optimistic answer?
Ooh, let's go optimistic. I like to be positive.
Okay. I think that one of the things that gaming does very, very uniquely to other forms of media is, because you touch it and interact with it, it intrinsically builds up this sense of investment. You spend time in it. I'm invested in Arrested Development. I love Arrested Development, but I didn't make part of it. And there's this thing that happens when you make something, that your brain, when you do something, your brain justifies the fact that you must have done that for a reason. Benjamin Franklin has this lesson about making friends, where when he had people who, I shouldn't say has, Benjamin Franklin had this lesson where when you have people that you would like to be your friends or closer to you, he would write to them and ask to borrow a book, maybe even a book he already had. And they would lend him the book, because that's a small favor. Even if you didn't like Benjamin Franklin, sure, I'll lend the man a book. And his theory was that as they did that, their brain would go, well, I wouldn't lend him a book if I didn't like him. So I'm doing this thing for him. They're getting a little invested in him. And he would do this small favor strategy to build their investment in him as a person. That was his enemies to friends tactic.
Wow.
It works.
Wow.
1000% it works. It also works the other way. When there are people that I know that for some reason we just don't get along, but I really want to, I start doing nice things for them, and boom, you get invested and you build your connection to people so much faster. And do it for no reason other than just, I want to like this person, so I'm going to start doing favors for them. And it works.
Wow.
I built some incredible outward connections. I use that to maintain my own, jealousies or what have you. If I get jealous of somebody, start doing nice things for them.
Wow.
And it fixes it. It fixes it so fast. Jealousy is a waste of time. So.
Agreed. That is powerful stuff. This is great.
So, thanks, Benjamin Franklin. So with games, the same thing happens. As you're doing it, you're investing yourself in it. Your brain is justifying that, well, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't love it. And you've often physically made things or earned things in a way that I can watch Arrested Development for the 8th time, but I don't necessarily feel more invested in that unless I'm choosing to make it a part of my core identity. Whereas with gaming, you're doing it. So I think there's this part of it where you just build an intrinsic connection to something because you're doing it and because you're putting time into it. We joke that gaming and adult entertainment pioneer a lot of technology, but in gaming, mobile gaming specifically, they built these retention mechanics that are just world class in terms of keeping people coming back every day, hacking the brain chemistry. Go read about Skinner boxes if you're very into psychological rewards. It's this concept that randomized rewards are more habit forming than predictable rewards. So same, if you're training a dog or a child, you don't actually want to reward them every time. Reward them randomly, and they'll try harder to try and figure out the pattern, but there is no pattern. So gaming figured that out because they had to. They're competing in this very, very cutthroat space. And so now these other industries are trying to take that learning and bring it to them because they see the stickiness. They see all of that.
Wow.
I think the challenge for those folks, though, is that gaming is not a monolithic industry in exactly the same way that music is not, TV is not, movies are not. I I love music, but I rarely listen to, I guess I listen to a lot of things. I rarely listen to show tunes, but I'm into music. But like me and somebody who's into show tunes, like we're both into music, but it's not the same. I think folks need to understand that for games too. I'm a gamer, but I am not the same type of gamer as Voss or Beth. Like it's very different.
Oh, wow. So what are your gaming industry trend predictions for the next year or maybe two and beyond?
So we've been through this. There was this interesting cycle when 2020 hit. COVID shaped a lot of industries, but it really shaped gaming. A bunch of people at home with stimulus checks, not able to go out. They're going to watch movies and they're going to play games. And so there's this huge spike in gaming usage. And there were a lot of folks who interpreted that spike as a trend line. So a bunch of money poured into gaming from VC, PE, a ton of investors coming in. But they were investing in the traditional investment model, which is not always suitable for games. So what happened was 22, 23, massive pullback. We've seen all the layoffs in the industry and the general kind of retrenchment, but it's to baseline, or not to baseline, it's to the old trend line. And it's a correction for the COVID overgrowth. We are now in this kind of stable-ish period. I think we in the gaming industry feel like we've hit bottom and come through, or at least I do, very much on the, oh, this is stable. There was a correction, and it's always unfortunate when you have an industry correction, but like you've been there, you've done consulting, like it happens for a reason.
And it's cyclical, right? And yes, there's reasons.
Yeah. So here for the next 3-4 years, I think that we're going to see steady growth. I think steady growth across the board. But you do have to break it into the categories. So on the mobile side, mobile gaming is all driven by UA. It's a user acquisition. So advertising. Most game revenue on mobile, a super majority of their revenue is spent on acquisition. It's a high volume business. The ongoing regulation changes in the App Store ecosystem are going to keep changing that. I think there for the next 3 to 4 years, we're going to see this push to the bottom when it comes to store margins metrics, and we're going to see the whole value chain of UA split into its little pieces, and companies start to optimize each one over the next 3 to 4 years. So we'll see more value chain splitting. We'll see more push from Xsola. We'll see the OEMs taking a larger role. Console, super different business. Don't know what we're going to see from Xbox. They have a new CEO, Asha Sharma, who by all accounts is fantastic. But Xbox is in a distant third in the console. And the console market, I think, relies on a healthy console war. You need some drama between PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox. You need it desperately. We haven't had it because Sony is dominant and Nintendo is doing their own thing as always. So for the next 3 to 4 years, I hope we see a resurgence of the console wars just for my own entertainment. And I think it's healthy for the industry to have more competition between them. But that market is kind of growth saturated. The markets where they can, Western Europe, the United States, everybody has consoles, essentially. Growth in South America is difficult. Brazil is very, very hard because of the import-export rules around hardware. But cloud is very big there because of that. China, we're just going to set China to the side for its own regulatory reasons. India, similar to Brazil, very expensive to import, hard to sell, expensive hardware, but cloud helps. So the console manufacturers have to figure out how to grow in their non-core markets and grow hard. So I think if we're making predictions, that on the console side, it's going to be sort of a steady-ish world, unless Xbox really can reignite the wars. And then on TV, which is the area where I'm getting to focus a lot now, this is the part where we get to say things like more than half of the households in the world have a smart TV. And if you have a TV, you don't have to spend $600 on a console anymore. You can just plug in and stream for free with ad supported, or you can pay for a subscription. The barrier to entry for console core gaming has just dropped so much in the last few years. So I think that's where we'll see the growth vector come.
And that's where Find fits in.
That's where Find fits in.
Yes.
That's another big reason why we're down here, because we're on a panel this afternoon with Andre from Find, and like that's the core thesis for us. That's how we grow in this space. You talked about gray space. For me, that's TV. That was the pitch I got sitting in Seattle, was building out this new type of gaming, a new category of gaming, CTV native, and then also just helping this platform grow, because we've been down the traditional growth paths, and I think we've maxed. Have to do new stuff now, and new stuff's the jam.
Yeah, it is. And I think that is where it makes so much sense, because like you said, everyone has not everyone, but many families have smart TVs, and there's just
80% of new TVs are smart TVs. The United States has a 90% plus penetration rate of smart TVs. It's like, if you want the US, it's all smart TVs. And then overseas in India, especially, like, it's just smart TVs are already getting sold. Their market share of smart TVs has gone from 30 to 60 in the last few years. It's going to keep growing. It is bonkers how much streaming has just opened the floodgates.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. It really does. So last question about kind of the landscape of gaming before we wrap is, at a high level, do you have any idea, like, how much of the market would you say is console based versus this cloud and TV based? I mean, it could be approximate. We don't need to get into specific numbers, just high level estimates.
Yeah. So when you hear a stat about the gaming industry, at least 50% of it is mobile, always, unless they are very, very specific. Mobile gaming cannot be underestimated in any room. On the traditional console side, there are a few different numbers out there. It's still 80% plus, well, by dollars. It gets complicated because you have to factor in console sales, et cetera, et cetera. But from a user perspective, it is still predominantly console. Cloud grows aggressively, though. The growth rate of cloud versus the growth rate of console is definitely higher. So it's expanding to a whole new market, right? It's the folks that played Madden 10 years ago and don't want to buy a console today, but they can grab a controller and plug it in and like play for free. Sure, they'll do that.
Yes.
So we get to expand to that market now.
Yeah. I love that. I'm asking because my kids are getting into mobile gaming.
Yeah.
And then obviously with Find and just everything I'm learning, I'm like leaning more in that direction as well. So it's just interesting.
Yeah. And man, it really depends what you're playing on mobile. I think it really depends what they're playing on mobile. But I think I will say mobile is the foreground of retention brain hacking design.
Yeah, they're like zombies with their games, for sure. I try and limit it, but they are really excited to go home and go on their iPads, which are actually our iPads.
That's right.
But that's amazing. Last question is about AI. I know this is obviously a huge category, busting that open at the way end. But is AI, I guess my specific question for AI is AI making the rollout of games faster, or is it interrupting? Like, where does AI sit in terms of growth specifically? Is it hindering it? Is it making it more rapid in terms of development? What are your initial, I know we're sort of in our baby years of AI still, but just curious what you're seeing out there.
AI gets you 0 to 80% instantaneously. In my experience and in the experience of talking with a lot of studios, it does very little for them from 90% onwards. But the 0 to 80 is instantaneous, and there's a huge value in being able to prototype something, instantly iterate on it. If in an afternoon you can have a concept with generated textures, generated voice lines, and like it mostly works enough to be like, does this feel good? That's very, very powerful, and theoretically speeds things up. But what it also means is that it would have taken you a week to prototype that scene without AI. Well, now you can prototype it in an afternoon, which means, well, let's do version 2 tomorrow. Let's try some other takes. So you're going to spend, in no instance has anybody told me that it makes them take less time to do the same work, because they fill that with other iterations.
That makes sense.
There are a few studios that I think are world-class in their pipeline. And for them, with high levels of discipline, it cuts the time down. But for them, they're using it, I think, very intelligently for that first 0 to 60, 0 to 80% work of roughing things in. And then they take the humans to do the fine tuning, and it gives them more time to build better assets. I think that is very, very, very powerful. I'm a huge skeptic on the prompt to functional game concept. I'm happy to be proven wrong 15 or 5 or 10 years from now, but I do think that will remain a pipe dream forever. That it doesn't, but the 0 to 80, boy, it's fast at that. And it's really good at QA. QA for gaming is really hard. All the permutations, something as simple as playing Madden. The testers there need to make sure that every jersey variation works in every stadium on every body type and doesn't glitch. That's a lot of work for a human to do, and it's a lot of video for a human to review. Now, AI is very good at patterns, so you can run an automated loop and then do AI visual recognition to like kick through all that video and find when it glitches. Super fast. Amazing for that.
Wow.
You can review hundreds of thousands of hours of footage overnight.
Wow.
In a way that humans can't. So that kind of thing, I think, super fast for. But it really depends how you integrate it into your pipeline and how disciplined you are about the use of it.
I love that. It seems like we're getting better quality, but again, with that human oversight, human management, which I feel like we're seeing across so many industries, particularly in media as well. We're seeing the same thing. It's more like workflow optimizations with humans managing, overseeing.
Right.
It's
it's kind of like the same problem with like if you're on a case with your team and you get asked to build a model. As you get faster at building the finance model, you don't actually spend less time building the model. You just build it and iterate on it for this. It always takes 5 weeks to put together the model. It's just more in depth now.
Right.
I think that's
great though.
It is. And I think that's what's going to happen. But this expectation that suddenly like Isaac gets to prompt the next Grand Theft Auto, I think is disconnected from reality.
Okay, so humans are not being replaced fully. That is a good thing to end on. And Isaac, this was super fun.
It was.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And good luck today, because I know you're going to be on stage speaking at the conference.
Indeed.
So I look forward to watching that as well.
It'll be fun.
And come back for Super Bowl and other fun activities. We want to bully you to hang out with us more.
I'm easily bullied into fun.
Okay, great. Well, we have fun. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube, for listening wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you again next week.
All right. That is it for today. Thank you very much for listening, and be sure to follow us at Iconic Nation Media and send us a direct message and comment on some of our posts so that we can hear your feedback and incorporate them into our show. We appreciate you listening, and we look forward to catching you next week.